Hello friends, welcome to State of the Stash 15 for January of 2024. I'm Shauna, and if you're new here, State of the Stash is my series where I document all the yarn coming into my stash and going out of my stash, usually in the way of finished objects, in an effort to hopefully bring in less yarn than goes out of the stash. That's the goal anyway. I am so happy that we're back in a new year and it's January, time for a little refresh, restart, because as you know, if you watched my last video, 2023 was not a success. It was, I guess it had some small little wins here and there, but overall it was not a success. So I'm hoping 2024 is better. I know a lot of people this year are really focusing on stash, and I kind of feel like we've done that in the last couple years as a community as a whole, but I do see more people being more serious about it, and I think honestly that helps me too. So let's look at our stats for January of 2024. Like I said, I'm not carrying over the figures from last year, although at the end of this year we can go back and take a look and compare, but we are starting fresh and I'm very happy about that. I don't have all the finished objects here with me, so I will insert photos and I will also post the grams used and all that, so you can see them as well as hear them. Okay, so the first thing that I finished in January, oh, let me tell you this. A couple things actually. I always get sidetracked. Links to everything I talk about will be down below, including where you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry, all as Shauna Stitches. And what else was I gonna say? I'm losing it already. Yes, everywhere you can find me, and I don't even know. It's gone. Whew. We'll just carry on and maybe it will come back to me. It's been a day. Okay, the first thing that I finished in January was my 2021 Freckled Whimsy Advent Socks. And those used 78 grams of yarn. And since I'm talking about that, I remember what the other thing I was going to tell you is that in 2024, not only am I trying to bring in less yarn than I use, but I'm also really focusing on languishing whips. And in theory, that should get me more yarn used up quicker because these projects are already started. Therefore, less time on my part to finish them, hopefully. Okay, so that was Languishing Whip number 1 finished. The second thing that I finished in January was not a Languishing Whip. It was my only new cast on, and those were my January Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. Those socks used 87 grams, and they are for my husband. They're in the Teenage Ninja Turtles. I know it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but the colorway isn't the exact name of the cartoon in the movie. I assume for copyright reasons, but yes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle based, but it's called Teenage Turtles, I think. Anyhow, 87 grams. The next thing that I finished was a Languishing Whip, and that was my Cinema Cowl. It had been on the needle since 2018, something like that, and finally finished. It used 199 grams of yarn. The next finished object is also a Languishing Whip, a green Musselburgh hat that I knit for my husband. I don't have the date in front of me of when I started that, but needless to say, it was a long time ago, and that used exactly 100 grams. And the next finished object were my 2022 Freckled Whimsy Advent Socks in the DRK Everyday Socks pattern, and those used 86 grams. Can you believe that? I finished both of those in January, and they're both Advent socks. Makes you wonder if I should be continuing to purchase those sock advents or not, because those were both very old whips. If I didn't already say so, those used 86 grams. And then I did have one thing come into stash, and no, I did not buy it, but I'm still counting it. It was this lovely prize from Amy of Noble Character Crafts. That's a mouthful. And I won a prize at the end of the year, which I just received, and it's this Charming You in DK sock, and it's in the color Woodlands. So that's 120 grams into stash. Doesn't it match my sweatshirt so well? Socks in this, actually a hat would be really great, but I think I will eventually knit DK socks with this. I only have maybe 2 or 3 pairs, and I really enjoy wearing them in boots, so I would like to have another pair. This also has a really cute little sweater stitch marker on it. So I don't know what sweater it will get attached to, but someday it will. And I had one more finished object for January, and those were, I actually have them here. They are the Curio socks for my husband. So my husband got 2 pairs of socks in January. Isn't that amazing? I do have 2 of them. And these fit him okay. He hasn't worn them yet, but I've seen him try them on. They're a bit baggy. If you can see, even on the blocker, there's more room than what would normally be on his socks. And I knit his socks on a 2.5 millimeter needle, usually 72 stitches, but these are an 80 stitch sock. But you see there are slip stitches, which I know affects the size, but they still turn out a bit big. I don't love Andra and Mowry's odd sock sizing. If I were to knit these again, I would do the math and figure out how many stitches to do to make them 72 stitches around, and I think they would be perfect. But he doesn't mind. Those used 104 grams. So let's see, in total, 5 languishing whips finished in January. Isn't that amazing? And 1 new cast on was finished, and only 1 thing came into stash. So all of the yarn that was knit in January was 654 grams. We brought in the 120 grams with our prize, and that makes a difference of negative 534 grams. That means just over 5 skeins of yarn went out of my stash in January, and that makes me feel so happy. If you watched my plans video for 2024, I showed this white canvas tote kind of thing. It's one of those that fits into the bookshelf. And I am actually starting to see some empty space in there now, and I'm very excited. That has definitely helped keeping the momentum going. I'm already working on some more languishing whips for February, so hopefully I will have a good month in February as well. I have managed to do really well at not having the urge to buy yarn, and I'm not really sure why that is. First of all, I think part of it is because I have a plethora of objects to choose from for my languishing whips. And so going into my Ravelry queue to see what could be worked on next, or even just going through project bags, I can usually find something that suits my fancy at the moment, and that's helping because it's not leading me to go look at Ravelry and see new things that I could knit and new patterns. But also, I just haven't been super drawn to any of the new patterns I've seen coming out lately. And I don't know if that's just me or if maybe other people are feeling the same, but they just don't feel as creative or interesting or new as they used to. And I don't know if that's just maybe a trend in knitwear is something that doesn't speak to me as much, or maybe because I've been knitting for a lot of years now, things aren't as new, you know, it's like, oh, I've seen something like that before, or I don't know. So it's kind of interesting. I have not had that urge. I purposely have been deleting all of the emails that I see with yarn sales before I even open them, which is definitely helping. And yeah, I feel like I am doing really well and starting off the year on a good foot. I hope that keeps going, but you know, we're only 1/12 of the year down. So how are you doing with your stash? Are you making progress, finishing some languishing whips, or starting some new ones? I would love to hear all about it. I think that's it. So I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.